Hello friends. The Lit teacher here. Let's understand another English literature lesson today. The character of Wimble. The character of Wimble. The author introduces a man named Wimble and explores his personality and circumstances. The essay begins with Steele visiting his friend Sir Roger de Coverley, who receives a letter from Wimble, along with a large fish caught by him. Wimble is described as the younger brother of a baronet, around 40 or 50 years old, without any specific occupation. Instead, he helps people with his skills in making angle rods, and often carries tulips as gifts for others. He is well liked by many, and often presents handmade clothes to women. Will arrives at Sir Roger's house, cutting hazel twigs on his way, and is warmly welcomed. During their time together, Will asks Sir Roger to provide a servant to carry shuttlecocks to a nearby lady. He also shares adventurous stories, which capture Steele's attention. They proceed to have dinner, and enjoy the fish caught by Will, with him enthusiastically describing how he caught it. After the meal, Steele reflects on his feelings towards Will. While he considers Will to be a responsible man, he also recognizes that Will lacks a personal occupation. Steele comments on the European tradition where elder brothers take care of the family's business, leaving the younger ones without clear roles. Steele expresses his disapproval of this practice, believing that if Will had been involved in commerce or a specific field, he could have thrived. The essay concludes with Steele expressing his empathy for Will's situation, and his belief that there is potential for Will to succeed if given the opportunity to pursue his own endeavors. Addison provides a detailed character sketch of Wimble, skillfully capturing the essence of a representative from the class of younger brothers in the landed gentry who lacked a specific profession and indulged in unproductive pursuits. Will's strengths lay in his exceptional hunting abilities, easily tracking down hares during hunts. Additionally, he displayed talent in crafting, particularly in creating intricate items such as a remarkably realistic mayfly and fishing rods, which he generously distributed throughout the community. Despite his idle disposition, Will was portrayed as a helpful and good-natured individual, further enhancing his social standing due to his association with a respected family. Addison notes Will's role in maintaining connections among gentlemen separated by distance, acting as a bridge for those unable to meet regularly. Through Addison's skilled writing, a sense of empathy rather than contempt is evoked for a character like Wimble. While he may be considered an idler, the reader is prompted to sympathize with his position, drawing attention to societal factors that contribute to the existence of individuals like Will. The gentle irony in Addison's description of Will's perfection in crafting seemingly trivial items, such as the mayfly, highlights the larger issue of societal values and priorities. Addison employs humor in recounting Will's one-sided conversations about his hunting adventures, cleverly likening the spectator's pursuit of unique characters to Wimble's pursuit of game. The spectator's delight in encountering such odd and whimsical personalities, like Wimble, underscores the freshness and novelty that these characters bring to the narrative. Wimble is portrayed as a kind-hearted and good-humored man, industrious in his own way, yet his talents are directed towards the production of articles of little or no practical use. Addison laments the squandering of resources and talents on such endeavors, expressing regret that Will did not channel his diligence into more significant pursuits that could have brought him acclaim and prosperity. The broader societal critique embedded in Addison's portrayal of Wimble becomes evident as he condemns the prevalent practice of denying younger sons of noble families the opportunity to engage in trade due to misplaced pride. Addison argues that this false sense of values results in wasted talents and, ultimately, poverty. By highlighting individual cases like Wimble, Addison draws attention to the larger issue of societal vices and the need for a reconsideration of values and opportunities. Now I'm going to read the essay for you. Please find the text of the essay on the screen for you to read along. I was yesterday morning walking with Sir Roger before his house. A countryfellow brought him a huge fish, which, he told him, Mr. William Wimble had caught that very morning, and that he presented it, with his service to him, and intended to come and dine with him. At the same time he delivered a letter which my friend read to me as soon as the messenger left him. Sir Roger, I desire you to accept of a jack, which is the best I have caught this season. I intend to come and stay with you a week, and see how the perch bite in the Black River. I observed with some concern, the last time I saw you upon the bowling green, that your wit wanted a lash to it. I will bring half a dozen with me that I twisted last week, which I hope will serve you all the time you are in the country. I have not been out of the saddle for 6 days last past, having been at Eton with Sir John's eldest son. He takes to his learning hugely. I am, sir, your humble servant, Will Wimble. This extraordinary letter, and message that accompanied it, made me very curious to know the character and quality of the gentleman who sent them, which I found to be as follows. Will Wimble is younger brother to a baronet, and descended of the ancient family of the Wimbles. He is now between 40 and 50, but being bred to no business and born to no estate, he generally lives with his elder brother as superintendent of his game. He hunts a pack of dogs better than any man in the country, and is very famous for finding out a hare. He is extremely well versed in all the little handicrafts of an idle man. He makes a mayfly to a miracle, and furnishes the whole country with angle roads. As he is a good-natured officious fellow, and very much esteemed upon account of his family, he is a welcome guest at every house, and keeps up a good correspondence among all the gentlemen about him. He carries a tulip root in his pocket from one to another, or exchanges a puppy between a couple of friends that live perhaps in the opposite sides of the county. Will is a particular favourite of all the young heirs, whom he frequently obliges with a net that he has weaved, or a setting dog that he has made himself. He now and then presents a pair of garters of his own knitting to their mothers or sisters, and raises a great deal of mirth among them, by inquiring as often as he meets them how they wear. These gentlemanlike manufactures and obliging little humours make Will the darling of the country. Sir Roger was proceeding in the character of him, when we saw him make up to us with 2 or 3 hudgel twigs in his hand that he had cut in Sir Roger's woods, as he came through them, in his way to the house. I was very much pleased to observe on one side the hearty and sincere welcome with which Sir Roger received him, and on the other, the secret joy which his guest discovered at sight of the good old knight. After the first salutes were over, Will desired Sir Roger to lend him one of his servants to carry a set of shuttlecocks he had with him in a little box to a lady that lived about a mile off, to whom it seems he had promised such a present for above this half-year. Sir Roger's back was no sooner turned but honest Will began to tell me of a large cock-pheasant that he had sprung in one of the neighbouring woods, with 2 or 3 other adventures of the same nature. Odd and uncommon characters are the game I looked for, and most delight in, for which reason I was as much pleased with the novelty of the person that talked to me, as he could be for his life with the springing of a pheasant, and therefore listened to him with more than ordinary attention. In the midst of his discourse the bell rung to dinner, where the gentleman I have been speaking of had the pleasure of seeing the huge jack he had caught, served up for the first dish in a most sumptuous manner. Upon our sitting down to it he gave us a long account how he had hooked it, played with it, foaled it, and at length drew it out upon the bank, with several other particulars that lasted all the first course. A dish of wild fowl that came afterwards furnished conversation for the rest of the dinner, which concluded with the late invention of Will's for improving the quail pipe. Upon withdrawing into my room after dinner, I was secretly touched with compassion towards the honest gentleman that had dined with us, and could not but consider, with a great deal of concern, how so good an heart and such busy hands were wholly employed in trifles, that so much humanity should be so little beneficial to others, and so much industry so little advantageous to himself. The same temper of mind and application to affairs might have recommended him to the public esteem, and have raised his fortune in another station of life. What good to his country or himself might not a trader or merchant have done with such useful though ordinary qualifications? This is the case of many younger brothers of great family, who had rather see their children starve like gentlemen than thrive in a trade or profession that is beneath their quality. This humor fills several parts of Europe with pride and beggary. It is the happiness of a trading nation, like ours, that the younger sons, though incapable of any liberal art or profession, may be placed in such a way of life as may perhaps enable them to vie with the best of their family. Accordingly, we find several citizens that were launched into the world with narrow fortunes, rising by an honest industry to greater estates than those of their elder brothers. It is not improbable but Will was formerly tried at divinity, law, or physic, and that, finding his genius did not lie that way, his parents gave him up at length to his own inventions. But certainly, however improper he might have been for studies of a higher nature, he was perfectly well turned for occupations of trade and commerce. As I think this is a point which cannot be too much inculcated, I shall desire my reader to compare what I have here written with what I have said in my 21st speculation. So that was it, the lesson. Tell me, what do you think about his essay?